Two NASCAR teams have recently filed a lawsuit against NASCAR, claiming that the organization, led by the France family, has been monopolizing the sport in an unfair way. The teams are accusing NASCAR of being bullies that have been controlling the sport with unchecked authority, giving little room for the teams, drivers, and sponsors to have a fair share of the revenue or influence over decisions. The two teams believe that unless they take a stand, the current system will continue to hurt everyone involved in the sport. Michael Jordan, co-owner of 23XI Racing, has said that he is ready to fight for a more competitive environment where everyone can benefit. This lawsuit is a huge deal for the sport of NASCAR because it could bring about changes that will affect how the sport is run in the future. For many years, NASCAR has been controlled by the France family, and they have made decisions that some teams believe have been unfair and have hurt their chances of success. The lawsuit brought by these two teams is the first time in many years that teams have pushed back against NASCAR in such a public way. This case shows some of the long-standing frustrations that teams have with NASCAR and its management. One of the main points of the lawsuit is that NASCAR has too much control over the sport and operates without enough transparency. The teams are frustrated that NASCAR owns many of the tracks where races take place, and they believe this gives NASCAR too much power. The teams also say they're forced to buy parts from certain suppliers that NASCAR selects, which limits their ability to find better or cheaper parts. On top of that, the teams are not allowed to compete in other stock car racing events, which they believe is another way NASCAR is controlling their opportunities to succeed. The charter system used by NASCAR is another big issue in the lawsuit. Charters give teams a guaranteed spot in every race, and they also ensure that the teams will receive prize money for competing. A few weeks ago, NASCAR handed the teams a document late on a Friday and told them to sign it by midnight or risk losing their charters. Many teams signed the document, but 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsports refused. Bob Jenkins, owner of Front Row Motorsports, said that NASCAR had used intimidation tactics to force the teams into signing. He said NASCAR went back to its old ways of dividing and conquering the teams to get what they wanted. The teams believe that by taking this issue to court, they can force NASCAR to make changes that will benefit everyone involved in the sport. They want NASCAR to be more transparent with their finances, and they want to know where all the money is going. NASCAR is a private company that keeps its financial information hidden, so the teams believe by pushing for more transparency, they can reveal if NASCAR is enriching itself at the expense of the teams. The teams also want to see changes to the charter system, as they believe the current system favors NASCAR too much and leaves the teams with too little control over their future. To help with their lawsuit, the teams have brought in a well-known lawyer, Jeffrey Kessler. Kessler has a lot of experience with sports law, and he has helped create the name, image, and likeness deals that college athletes can now use to make money. Kessler said that this lawsuit reminds him of other sports that have gone through big changes after being challenged in court.
What we are arguing here is that NASCAR is a monopoly. No surprise to NASCAR fans. There is no alternative to NASCAR, not just in this country, but frankly around the world. And it got its monopoly illegally. So something had to change. On September 6th, NASCAR, using its monopoly, went to all the teams at 5 o'clock and said, here's a 100-page agreement. Either accept it by 6 or you cannot have a charter to compete. Most of the teams folded because they couldn't afford to fight NASCAR. They couldn't risk their franchise. They couldn't risk their employees. Two teams, my clients, did not fold. That's Front Row, and that's 2311. They decided somebody has got to stand up to this bully. Somebody has got to say enough is enough, and that they are going to file this lawsuit so that NASCAR could come into the 21st century.
One of the possible outcomes of this lawsuit is that it will force NASCAR to come back to the negotiating table. The teams hope that by filing the lawsuit, they can pressure NASCAR into making more concessions and allowing the teams to have more control over their future. Some people believe that the teams are not necessarily trying to win the lawsuit in court, but are instead using it as a way to scare NASCAR into negotiating a better deal. If the lawsuit drags on for a long time, it could become very expensive for both sides, and the teams may hope that NASCAR will want to avoid that and make a deal instead. The teams have several key demands that they hope to achieve through this lawsuit. First, they want to make the charters permanent, which would give the teams more security in the future. Right now, charters are temporary, and the teams want long-term stability. Second, they want a larger share of the money NASCAR makes from television deals and other sources of revenue. They believe that the current system gives too much of the money to NASCAR, and the teams are left with too little. Third, the teams want more control over their intellectual property, which includes their names, logos, and likenesses. They want to have a say in how their brand is used and want to share the profits made from it. Finally, the teams want to have more input into rule changes and major decisions about how the sport is run. While 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsports are fighting for these changes, most of the other teams in NASCAR have already signed the new agreement with NASCAR. This makes the lawsuit more complicated because NASCAR can argue that the majority of teams have already agreed to the current system. However, the lawsuit is still a significant development because it involves high-profile figures like Michael Jordan and lawyer Jeffrey Kessler, who bring attention and credibility to the case. NASCAR has not yet publicly responded to the lawsuit, but many expect them to issue a statement soon. So far, NASCAR has tried to maintain a professional image during this process, while the teams have been more vocal in the media. NASCAR has taken the high road in public, but behind the scenes, they're likely preparing for a long legal battle. The outcome of this lawsuit could have lasting effects on NASCAR and the teams involved. One of the interesting aspects of this case is the history of the France family and how they have managed NASCAR over the years. Jim France, who currently leads NASCAR, is known for being calm and quiet in public, but people say that behind the scenes, he is very firm and can be tough when needed. This is not the first time the France family has faced challenges to their authority. In the past, NASCAR has pushed back hard when its control has been questioned. For example, in the 1960s, a driver named Curtis Turner tried to form a drivers' union, and NASCAR responded by banning him from racing. This shows that NASCAR and the France family are not afraid to take drastic action to protect their control over the sport. The current lawsuit might be another example of a showdown between the France family and those who want to challenge their authority. Michael Jordan's role in this lawsuit is also significant as one of the most famous athletes in the world. Jordan brings a lot of attention to the case. His involvement could put extra pressure on NASCAR to take the concerns of the teams more seriously. Jordan is known for his competitive nature, and he has said that he is willing to fight for what he believes is fair. If the lawsuit is successful, it could lead to major changes in how NASCAR operates. For example, the teams could receive a larger share of the money from television deals, and they might have more control over their intellectual property. There could also be more transparency in how NASCAR handles its finances, which would be a big change for a company that has always operated privately. On the other hand, if the lawsuit fails, it could hurt the teams involved, especially 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsports. Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin, who co-own 23XI Racing, have ambitious plans for their team's future, but those plans might be in danger if the lawsuit does not succeed. The stakes are high for both sides, and the outcome of this case could change the future of stock car racing in the U.S. Now that's all we have for today's episode. Don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell while you're down there.